Welcome to Real Chat,
the podcast where we, Annie and Chad, discuss real shit
loosely related to the real estate industry.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, Chad.
We're rolling, rolling.
But you didn't play the thing.
It's too far away. I'm over it. It's a new thing. We can add sound effects later if we want. It'll be fine. Mandy, make a note of that.
We create all these standards that I have to follow until you decide we're no longer doing them. Did you notice that's a pattern?
I'm not sure that playing a sound effect is a standard that was created.
But we did it on every single podcast, every single time.
So
it was a standard.
That's not a standard. A standard requires a conscious decision.
Well, it was a conscious decision of yours.
I know.
And now it's just gone.
Okay, whatever. It can come back. We can add them after the fact. It doesn't have to be in the moment. But it wasn't a standard because standards have to be set and decided on consciously. So there would have had to have been a conversation between us in order for it to be a standard.
I think it was a standard you had in your subconscious then.
Might have been one of my standards, but it was not a standard for the podcast.
It's a dreary, rainy day today.
It is a dreary, rainy day.
We're
but
in
at
the
least
office.
It's warm.
It's not warm.
It's friggin' warmer than it has been the last couple days.
Yeah.
So it could be worse. It could be freezing cold and rainy and dreary.
Snowing.
Could be snowing. It's actually quite springy out. Dare I say it?
Springy?
Yeah, like as in like spring or spring-like. Springy.
We've been in this office too many hours together.
I feel like you're wearing your Christmas sweater today since we're in that mood. Is that your Christmas sweater?
No.
No?
This is new.
I mean, I like it. Just like,
You actually can wear red. Oh, it's almost Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day
I don't
sweater.
think that this color has any, limit to season. 12 months a year you can wear red.
Yeah. Do you want to know what's really funny?
I do not, because I feel like it's going to be at my detriment, whatever you're fixing to say. Do you like that fixing to say?
Fixing to say. So tell me about what happened last night.
Where?
You called me and left me a 2-minute voicemail because you didn't realize you called me. The conversation that happened to be with your husband, Jamie Calloway, whilst you were watching an episode of the podcast. And that is the voicemail that you left me. And one of the things that you kept saying, because you can't just watch the podcast and be confident.
Okay, well, first,
with who you are.
you have to pause.
Before
you go, you have to pause.
What?
I have never watched an episode of our podcast because I don't want to watch myself.
Right.
Because if I did, I said I will never want to film another one. So Jamie kept saying, come watch it. I'm watching the podcast. Come watch it. And I'm like, I don't want to watch it. And he kept saying, just come watch it. And I'm like, why? Do I look dumb? Is there something? Are you going to talk about my big hand?
No. So then I get this voicemail. It's just Jamie muttering in the background, and
because you couldn't hear him.
Because I couldn't hear him. He was too far away from the phone, so he was like muffled. And you keep saying, "What am I looking at?"
Oh. Okay, so when I watch the podcast, it looks like I'm looking at this.
The funny thing is that, okay, because when you but since we started, and that's what made me laugh, your eyes are locked on my forehead right now. Like you have not looked away until 2 seconds ago.
But it looks like I'm like this. It looks like I'm talking to the wall.
That's because when you get into conversation, you do that. That's funny.
I talk at the wall?
Yeah.
I do not.
Yes, you do. You don't maintain contact. Everybody does it. Like, it's not even a thing. You don't realize what your nonverbals that you're doing when you're having a conversation. But when we get deep into conversation, your eyes go from me to the floor or to the wall when you're formulating your response. Like, so you're visualizing in your head, but you're not looking at me when you're doing that.
Maybe I get tired of looking at you.
So you don't even realize that you're doing it.
But it was distracting when I watched it. But even funnier,
It is funny when you notice all the little quirks you have that you don't realize you do
Right.
it. Like I say the word right.
I noticed that.
all the time.
Right?
It's my filler word, right?
It's not even a filler
Like-
word. It's your punctuation.
It is
Because
everywhere. I want to be
the irony of that
period.
is you don't ever want someone to tell you that you're not right, but yet you ask right with a question after every sentence. For the person who never wants to be wrong, there's something wrong with that.
right?
So anyway, let's just show this. So in case you watched the last
There's
one and
a-
it bothered you, you brought it up.
Sorry,
I'm
I'll be
pitching.
quiet.
The angle of this camera when I put my hand here, this hand was really big and this hand looked really little. And then I kept gesturing with this hand and it looked like a gorilla. It looked like King Kong's hand.
I didn't notice that. Like I went back and watched it last night after
You still
said
didn't
it.
notice it? So now I'm going to keep my hand up here. I'm just glad if it was recording me and Jamie talking about the podcast for 2 minutes that we weren't talking bad about you.
I think he did say, I don't know why you're worried about yours. Chaz looks like an orangutan. But again, he was muffled, so I wasn't entirely sure. But anyways, I thought it was funny, and you left me that voicemail. But it makes it's like why you can't do social media or get on a camera or all of that. The agents have that too. Like you look just like you do in real life.
That
to
is
me.
not true. The camera gains 10 pounds.
No, it does not.
And as Chandler Bing would say, how many cameras were on you?
It's true. That's funny. But no, that's a real thing. Right?
I don't want to
The
look at
fear of
myself.
being in front of a camera. Is there an actual word for that, do you think? That was like, whoa.
Fear of
Do you
being
think
on
there's an
camera?
actual word for the
I
fear
think there
of...
probably is. I do not know it. But there's usually a word for every phobia. Is that a phobia?
Yeah. So dumb.
Camera shy. It's 2 words.
No, there's one word, but this is dumb.
What is it?
Videophobia.
Wow.
I
That's
know. It's
yeah.
sad. There was no creativity at all when they came up with that word.
Yeah.
But that's a real thing, videophobia. A lot of people have it.
I have it.
I do not have it. But it stops. What does it stop you from doing, do you think?
Filming.
Yeah, but like what would you get if you were able to get over that fear?
Don't know.
Which leads me to another great question. What's the best way to get over a fear?
Do it
Yeah?
until you're not going to die.
You think so?
Yes.
Is that professional advice or just gut feeling?
Professional advice.
Yeah.
Everything I say is professional advice.
What This is going to get out of control real fast today. What fears? I don't know.
I want to give legal advice all
Are
the
you
time,
ever gonna
but I'm
just-
not a lawyer, so then I have to always qualify it with, I'm not a lawyer.
Yes, I know. You do think you're a lawyer sometimes, though. I think you would have made a great lawyer.
I wish I would have been a lawyer.
Yeah. It's too much writing, though. I feel like, I guess they have typewriters back when you would have gotten a law
I just want to
degree.
be able to say, Judge, permission to treat this witness as hostile.
You say it all the time,
I know.
regardless of whether you're a lawyer or not. Ooh, that's another word that drives me crazy when people say that.
What?
Irregardless. It's not a word. What does irregardless mean?
I don't say it.
I know, but when somebody says it, what do they usually mean? It's just funny.
They want you to not regard it.
Right. So that's what regardless means, regardless of whatever I just said. When you put an ear in front of it,
You
you're
should have been an
doing
English
it
teacher.
not
You could have been an
regardless.
English teacher
It's
and I
not
could have been a
not
lawyer.
regardless of it, which means it is regarded. Stop saying it, people. Come on. Ugh.
Do better.
For real. Grammar matters. English matters. What else? What happened this week?
We
What
moved.
you got to share?
We're in the office.
We were in the office last week.
Not officially. Apparently, I was in trouble with the city of O'Fallon for
that's
stating it.
right. I remember.
The agents are in the office this
The
week.
agents are in the office this week.
We had donuts and coffee.
We did.
Feels like it's been a long week. We have a lot of new
It's only
clients.
Thursday, too.
Things are picking up.
Tomorrow, we're going to a class on public speaking, which is also, ironically, a fear of a lot of people's. That's where
It's not a public speaking class. It's a train the trainer. It's how to teach. It's like tips and tricks for instructing.
Wouldn't teaching and instructing be public speaking?
But it's not a public speaking class. That's a different class altogether.
Oh.
Everybody coming to this class is not afraid of public speaking. They just want to know better how to teach, the different styles of teaching, the do's and don'ts.
I think we should go through the do's and don'ts of teaching ourselves and see how close we are to the class. Like what we'll learn, where we're at now. We should do a where we're at now assessment.
Okay, go.
No, you're better at that than me. You have more experience teaching than I do.
I know, but I'm not sure how to ask those questions. Chad, you're teaching a class to adult learners. Should you or should you not call on people whose hand is not up?
You should not do that.
That's correct. Why not?
Because sometimes people don't want to speak in front of an entire room of people.
Right.
It's a thing. And then you do. See, here's the problem is when you force them to, like that, like you just said, then they shut down and they don't retain anything you're teaching them because all they can think about is how mortified they are that they had to speak out loud in front of a room full of people. And so it defeats the entire purpose of what you're trying to do.
Well, especially when you're teaching a class and the people in the room are not employees. It might be different too if there's employees and you have expectations, but these are just all, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not volunteers, but they're all independent contractors. They're all there,
they're paying you to take the class and get the education.
Right. I mean, you should have rules for the class, and if they violate your rules, then clearly you can address that. But there really shouldn't be an expectation for how they participate in that class.
Right.
I don't know if that's a rule or not. That's just mine.
I don't think there's a formal rule book, is there, on how to teach?
I have one.
Of course you do.
But I didn't make it up. I mean, I learned it when I was teaching class for a company.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I also don't think there's a formal rule. But like I don't know.
We'll know tomorrow.
Well, we'll know somebody's opinion tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear his opinion on several things. So it's a class.
I don't have any more questions for you.
No more questions. No more. What is that saying? No more.
Hell no, we won't go. I don't know what you're saying.
I want to say no more ramen noodles, but I know that's not it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Is it a
Just
TV
saying
show?
from a movie or a...
Next topic.
I'm stuck. No more. Oh, I won't come to me.
I'm trying to help, but I can't.
Oh. You know what we should talk about? We should talk about what to do when you feel overwhelmed. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed?
Go to the casino.
Okay, let me... That's true.
I'm kidding.
Truth. Let me rephrase the question, if I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
What should you do when you feel overwhelmed?
So for me, what works for me when I'm overwhelmed is I need to stop and I need to write it all down. I need to process what I'm feeling overwhelmed about. And then I like to put them in categories, but I need to like brain dump and I need to get it all out on paper and then decide what I'm going to do first.
What kind of categories do you put things in?
So I do a lot of things and I wear a lot of different hats. So I typically start with, is it for a client? Is it for the brokerage? Is it for my dance studio? Is it for the other dance studio that I consult? Is it personal?
Yeah.
And then I literally put them in columns, and then I go through and I mark the ones that need to be done, that are urgent and need to happen now. What do you do?
Cry. Go to sleep.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you do that, don't you? You need a nap.
Take a nap. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, good to go. And then I usually don't work on anything I was overwhelmed by, but
Yeah.
it shuts the brain off for
Well,
a
mine
minute,
is
interrupts
yeah. For me, it's getting it. Yeah, the voices stop if I write it down and make a plan.
Yeah. No, I don't. Because then when I write things down, I can't. I've done that. I've tried that one. For me, it doesn't work because then when I write it down, it's gone.
Because you think you'll get to it later. That does happen. It is a
It's
danger.
no longer my problem because it's on that piece of paper over there, so I never have to worry about it. And then, floop,
I think everybody
Gone
probably
into
has
my
to
head.
figure out what works for them. For me, for what I think works for you is that you just need to get away from whatever it is.
oh no, definitely.
I need to plow
Yes.
through it. I don't need to take a break. I need to just do something that will make me feel better about it. And you need to go away and
Yeah,
get away from
change the
everybody.
scenery, change your people. Yeah, that it distracts myself for a little while, and I do tend to come back. I mean, I don't usually, completely forget things, but I do tend to come back to it later.
Yeah.
And it's still there. I mean, like, I don't know. But yeah, the sleeping is that because, like I said, if I write it down on a list, I have lots of things written on lots of lists in lots of places that I was like, oh, this is a really good idea. And I decided I was going to do it. And then I got overwhelmed with everything. And you prioritize things. And it never got to the top of the priority list, but I would freak out about it or panic about it or whatever, go on and on. I'm like, I'm just going to put this on the parking lot. That's the parking lot. Never worked for me. 'Cause
Right.
It's parked
Well, there's
in the junkyard with the rest of the ideas that are never going to go anywhere.
the parking lot has to be revisited. It's not the junkyard. You're putting yours in the junk pile.
Oh, what is the parking lot for those that don't know?
How I use the parking lot is if you're in the middle of having a conversation or you're working with a group of people and you have an agenda and you're working on, you're talking about recipes on how to make cake, and then a squirrel pops up and somebody talks about, a vacation, and we decide that that's probably something we need to talk about, but we need to stay focused on the task at hand. So we put the vacation on the parking lot for us to revisit later, for it to make the top of the list.
That makes sense.
But when you put it on your own parking lot, never to be revisited, it's more of a graveyard.
It is, totally.
You should call yours the
The
graveyard.
junkyard. It's in the junkyard. I like the junkyard.
Some people visit the junkyard.
I like the junkyard. I probably... What?
So loud.
I had a thought. I probably...
It scared me.
Really? Is that why you jumped out of your chair? I probably visit the graveyard every once in a while too because
Oh, this ought to be good. I'm on the edge of my seat. Well, finish your thought. Sorry. Why do you visit the graveyard?
because sometimes I randomly do things that I thought were new ideas.
And you thought they were new ideas? But you buried them a long time ago?
In the junkyard. So sometimes I do things that I think they're new ideas. And then I'll be like cleaning files out and there's the junkyard. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I had that idea 2 years ago. Totally forgot.
Oh, that's funny. It's true.
Anyways, I didn't even remember. My stomach hurts.
That was
now.
bad.
That was funny. I don't even know why it was funny. Why don't you tell us how you got this listing yesterday? It's a good story for those that can make it happen. But like the importance of, I don't even know what the word is, but tell us how you got the listing.
I have a new listing, and it is my in-laws' neighbor. And they were talking about, they're going to sell their house and move in with us. And they were talking about that their neighbor was going to sell. And my in-laws are very supportive of my career, and they have a stack of my business cards. So they gave them a business card. And while we were at our lunch yesterday, our awards lunch, which we could also talk about that, while we were at that, they called, and it just happened that it worked out that I could go to their house a couple hours later and meet with them and go through their house. And they were impressed by that.
Yeah.
So they picked me.
They picked you. But they picked you because your promptness, number one, that you could, get there reasonably. Not same day. Who knows? They probably might have picked you the next day too. But promptness was the key, right? Didn't she tell you that?
Yeah, making it a priority.
Yeah. And then that you were still prepared even though you showed up
Right.
quickly.
Right.
So preparation for things, that's something.
Right.
That's a whole episode in and of itself.
Yes.
What did you do? What do you do to prepare for your listing agreements?
What's distracting you right now?
I was just seeing what time it was.
Oh. What do I do to prepare?
Although I did just see these a minute ago, which is...
Here we go.
Sorry, Mikey. I was yelling at you for stealing these. They must have taken them off last week.
Yeah, because it hurts to wear earrings.
The
with these
podcast, I do not remember
headsets that I'm not sure why we have to wear because they're beautiful.
Swear.
Listing agreement or listing appointments.
Yeah, what do you do to prep? Like,
I mean, for something that's going to be that quick too, just really looking up what I can find out about the current owner in the house that they have, how long they've owned it, those kind of things. And then do a quick evaluation of the house from a pricing standpoint, get an idea, because obviously you can't do that until you lay eyes on it because you don't know what shape it's going to be or how it's, different from the comparable ones you find. So that's really all I did. And then you go in and talk about what you're going to do for them. Because that's really what people care about, is how you're going to sell their house and what you're going to do.
That's true.
And do you,
I think sometimes, do you take anything with you?
it depends.
Yeah. You don't have like a standard
I
way
do
you
not.
do it every time?
I do not. I do not recommend that.
Why not?
Because I think that most people would feel comfortable having a way that they do it, but it's a fine line for me.
Yeah.
I think there's the danger in going in too prepared with a PowerPoint presentation and pulling out your computer and doing that. For me, the listing appointment is for me to get to know them to get to know me, and you got to kind of read the room. You got to kind of feel the conversation out and let it go where it goes. And it needs to be authentic. Mm-hmm. So I'm very prepared. I know my information. I know their house. I know their neighborhood. I know their market when I go in. But you might get there and they just want to talk about one little piece of it,
Right.
and they don't care about, some of that other stuff. So
Yeah, I see realtors making that mistake all the time when they feel like they have to talk about X, Y, and Z, like the information and give them. I think maybe it's because they feel like that makes them valuable, that they know that information. Is that?
I don't know.
Like, I wonder why people do that, because I see people go in all the time and they're like, well, they have we talk about this first, then this, then this, then this. And it's like some clients don't want to talk about any of that. And it's okay that they don't want to talk about that, because I guess that's the point. I think you're going after the trust standpoint. And of course, the information because you have to, but I think a lot of realtors miss out on that at the beginning. Is the point of the listing conversation or the listing appointment is for them to get to know, like, and trust you, so they pick you. And if you can prove that you're trustworthy and that you are knowledgeable about any one area of real estate and they like you, you're likable, they're going to pick you. You don't have to talk about every single detail on that listing appointment.
Right. I think it's important to also have a process that you go through so that you don't forget to talk about something, because you could be sidetracked with, something else, but there are certain questions you need to ask. I use a roadmap, and depending on, that works really well with buyers, more than sellers, because typically, unless they haven't bought or sold a home in a long time, they're pretty familiar with the process. So it's not their first time, that.
Yeah.
With a buyer, it could be their first time doing it. So, but I like to have that to just glance at, because I don't want to leave there and be like, oh man, I forgot to say this, or I forgot to explain that, or whatever. So
yeah, that's it. I mean, most of those questions in the listing appointment in the listing agreement too. So like some of that,
it is.
I mean, some of it is, not all of it is, but
when I train agents, and I know you're going to roll your eyes because I'm going to say my Jerry Maguire movie, but
you're about the living room.
yeah, like that's Jerry Maguire. If you haven't seen that movie, he's a sports agent, and he closes deals because he goes into the living room with the family and the athlete and closes the deal and gets them to sign with whatever, school or whatever. But anyway, when you're a realtor, you have to learn how to do that. You have to be good in the living room. You have to be able to let them ask their questions and go at their pace and their route, not you come in with a rehearsed script.
Well, and I think that the mistake that a lot of realtors make when hearing that is like, and it was me when I first, did it. I would, okay, you gotta be good in the living room. You gotta let them talk, let them tell you what they want, and so you do that, but you're just doing it because somebody told you they were doing it. And the difference between being good in the living room and not being good in the living room is, do you actually care about what they're saying, and how are you going to help them accomplish that? So are you actively listening to what they're going to say, and not listening to respond, but listening to understand the story, and then providing a solution? Because 9 times out of 10, they're telling you a problem that they have.
It's exactly what I was going to say.
And so,
it's all solving problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes
how
the problem
you solve that problem?
You listen, and you listen to understand. And sometimes solving their problem is actually saying, I'm not sure selling is right for you.
Right.
Sometimes that is solving their problem.
Right.
Is to say,
is advising them that it's not the right time. It's not yet.
For them.
Right.
But a lot of times, realtors go into that with, I need the listing. I want the listing. I got to get the listing. And so people have to trust you.
Yeah. No, and that is, you're providing a service, and your service is to alleviate the stress of selling a house and to get the client their most important, whatever it is, regardless whether that's a price or a terms or a whatever. And I think people forget that. So you have to actually care about what their problems are.
Right.
That's why I'm terrible at that.
Because you don't care.
I don't. I mean,
That's not true.
I do, but no,
But it's
I do
why we
care.
break ours up.
It is why we break ours up. It's just that's not my strength.
The part that
care.
I do is not.
It's that I'm not good at showing that I care. That's the difference. Yes, I care. I don't want anybody to have problems or get foreclosed on or not be able to sell their house for what they need or whatever it is that's going on. I do care, but I have a problem expressing that in the moment. So, not a problem. I'm just not good at it. I don't wear my emotions on my sleeves a lot, which is funny because I tell what I'm thinking by my face. People think they can.
I was
going to
say, I don't think so.
My face. Yeah, very few people ever actually really know what I'm thinking. But you got a hard stop. Where are you going?
I have an appointment.
What kind of appointment?
A phone conversation with my new listing.
That's fun.
Chad was putting these up today, so we got a little bit of a late start.
We did. I thought maybe we were going somewhere fun where we could shout out somebody.
Nope. I just have a 3:30 call.
All right. Well, it's been real.
It's been fun.
We'll see you next week. What is this, episode
15?
15? Yes, I think so. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Thanks for hanging out with me, Annie. We'll see you next week, episode 16. Bye.
Bye.